Okay, Hare Krishna. So, our subject is inspiration. How are we? How am I getting inspiration in present circumstances? I think a starting point would be to think about the word inspiration. As far as I know, when we breathe in, that is inspiration. And when we breathe out, that is expiration. So both things are necessary. And nowadays especially, we're all very conscious of our breathing because we don't want to breathe in some infection. We want to breathe in pure air. So an inspiration for me is feeling blessed that I'm in a situation that I can breathe pure air. Simple as that. It's actually something to be conscious of, I would say, is our breathing. We only get so many breaths in this life, and then when our breaths are over, then we'll be moving on. So we can appreciate that we have this possibility. As we know, there's a process, there are many different kinds of, we can say, intentional breathing, pranayama. And maybe I can share the advice that I received several months ago from a medical doctor, which to me made a lot of sense as a general advice, but especially for this time of this dangerous virus, and that is to practice kapalbhati breathing. This is a kind of short and hard breathing that one does. I won't demonstrate, you can find it on the internet. But it's a way of strengthening the lungs. And we're hearing so much about people who are infected with this COVID, and they have great trouble with their lungs. For some, it's a matter of living or not living, the strength of the lungs. So this is a very mundane kind of thing, we may say, but I would like to share that this practice of kapalbhati, as it's called, for strengthening the lungs is a very good thing. Beyond that, spiritual inspiration, because we are, for the most part, in rather inactive mode in terms of moving around and traveling, I find myself relishing not traveling because most of my life, my spiritual life especially, since decades, I've been on the move. Hardly I stay in one place more than a couple of weeks. But now I'm staying in one place in 6 months, and it's great. It's great to stay in one place. I can peacefully hear and chant and read and think. I think my ability to think has benefited from being in one place. One thing I like to remember is what Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Thakur said about activity in the spiritual world, that one could publish a newspaper every minute describing the news of the spiritual world. And so combining that thought with a nice point which my godbrother Mahatma Prabhu makes as a kind of affirmation for chanting japa. So when I chant japa, I turn off my mind and turn on my heart, or I turn off my thinking in this world, and I open myself to Krishna's world, to the spiritual world. So this is a nice practice of inspiration for me to open to this unlimitedly new, yat avadi mama cheta Krishna padaravinde nava nava rasa damadutyantam rantum asit. Nava nava rasa means ever fresh, ever new rasa. So we get this opportunity to open as we are chanting the Maha Mantra, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. But of course, to open ourselves to the spiritual world, to Krishna's ever new pastimes, we need to invoke the blessings of the saints. So for me, this is also inspiration to reflect on, to remember the sadhus, the Vaishnavas, the acharyas, and to invoke them. Invocation means to call on them, to invoke their presence, to have a sense of their being present, to invite them into the room, into where I am, to bless me, to chant. And a third reflection that inspires me for this time in particular, which is not only a time of this pandemic, this particular kind of physical danger, but we're seeing a very disturbed time mentally, emotionally for everyone, a time of great stress on so many levels, a time of considerable sense of conflict, of tension between individuals and groups and parties and so on. So I like to remember Sri Prahlad's prayer in the Bhagavatam. This is Canto 5, Chapter 18, I think, maybe verse number 9. Svastyastu vishvasya kala prasidatam dhyayantu bhutani shivam mitodhyaha manascha bhadram bhajatadat hokshajeya veshatam no matir apyahetuki. He's praying to Nrsingadev for swasti, for auspiciousness, for favorable existence. Su asti, swasti astu. Let there be happiness, let there be goodwill, let everyone become peaceful, let everyone engage in bhakti yoga, let let everyone put aside their enviousness. And Prabhupada says practically everyone is envious in the word for word. Let's put all our envy aside and let us be well-wishers of everyone. However horrible we think someone is, let us wish them well. So I find that spiritually elevating, and I would say also kind of ethically elevating. It gives me a sense of putting myself in the right place in thinking about others. So these are a few short thoughts which I hope may be of use for your inspiration as you continue on your voyage, your journey of Krishna consciousness through thick and thin, through all kinds of circumstances, imaginable, unimaginable, desirable, undesirable. Let us all be yogis and keep the aim of our practice in sight, to please the Lord, please Guru, please the Vaishnavas, and go back home, back to Godhead. Hare Krishna.